Transport Ministry to introduce flight tickets initiative for IPTA students. Hello, good evening and salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight with me, Muhammad Amin. Well, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim today stressed that he is willing to cooperate, even to be investigated by any relevant authorities if he is suspected to be involved in corruption. Well, he said after 7 months of holding the highest office in the country, no special privileges were given to his family. At the same time, Anwar reiterated that he bears no grudges against anyone, and neither had he directed the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission or MACC to investigate any individuals involved in corruption now.
Ya, siapa yang disiasat oleh SPRM itu kerja SPRM dan dia jawab. SPRM harus jelaskan. Saya tidak arahkan. Karena saya tidak mau fitnah. Saya lalui liku-liku hidup yang susah. Orang Matampau lagi faham, orang Gua Pau ni tahu sangat. Dari zaman Datuk Haji Nok, Allah yarham lagi. Yang kawan-kawan saya ramai sini. Takkan pula bila kita ada kuasa, kita nak buat kerja tu baru serupa aja. Nilai kita ni jadi serupa, rosak.
He said this at a Qurban ceremony before joining the congregants for Friday prayers at Masjid Jamik An-Nur Gua Perahu, Seberang Perai, Tengah today. The Prime Minister also said there will be no compromise with any minister or deputy minister in the unity government or even former ministers if they are found to be involved in corruption. Well, he said his commitment to combating corruption has been well received and has never been objected to by any party in the unity government. The government has called on banks to continue to offer loan repayment assistance to individuals and small and medium enterprises or SMEs in need, including assistance in scheduling and restructuring their loans. Well, at the same time, troubled borrowers can get free advice and loan repayment assistance through the Credit Counselling and Management Agency, AKPK. Well, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, who is also Finance Minister, in a press release today, said he's satisfied with the commitment shown by banking institutions that are ready to help the people and SMEs. The statement followed a dialogue session held on 28th June with representatives of the banking sector as part of the government's ongoing efforts to obtain ideas and views related to the national economy from all walks of life. The representatives also agreed that the focus is now on efforts to drive the transition towards a net zero carbon country, as well as a wider digitalization agenda. The discussion also touched on new growth areas that can strengthen Malaysia's value proposition among regional and global investors. The discussion also touched on new growth areas that can strengthen Malaysia's value proposition among regional and global investors. Well, the Ministry of Transport, the MOT, will introduce an initiative this August to ease the financial burden of students at public institutions of higher learning, especially from Sabah and Sarawak, to buy flight tickets. Transport Minister Anthony Logue said the initiative, which could benefit about 50,000 IPTA students, is currently still in the process of integration with the airlines. He said the initiative is expected to be launched in August before this year's National Day celebration.
Kerajaan melalui Kementerian Pangkutan pada tahun ini memang ada satu inisiatif untuk memberikan bantuan tiket kapal terbang kepada mereka, iaitu kita akan bagi satu bentuk kredit kepada mereka yang akan dikreditkan kepada akaun masing-masing untuk mereka memberi tiket kapal terbang.
And he said this to reporters after launching the My Airline Students program and inaugural international flight to Bangkok today. Logue said the local aviation industry, including My Airlines, have an important role to play, particularly for students who have to traverse across the South China Sea, as flights are their only travel option. On another note, Lok said reliable and affordable flights are key to allowing students to pursue the best education opportunities and strengthen unity among regions. My airline will be offering a 20% fare discount and 15-kilogram complimentary baggage allowance to students aged 16 to 26 traveling on domestic flights under the program.
I'd like to thank my airlines for offering this program. Yes, it is very, very close to my heart because this is one policy and one initiative that I really hope to play a role and as the Transport Minister can do something to help our students. So I think this is one way that we can help the students, especially from Sabah and Sarawak, because for them it is really hard to even afford to go back once a year.
Meanwhile, My Airline Chief Executive Officer Raina Teo said the airline would operate at 2 airports in Bangkok, with the operation at the Suvarnabhumi Airport on 28th June and at Don Mueang International Airport on 1st July. Meanwhile, Anthony said his ministry has entrusted the authorities to conduct a detailed investigation into an incident at the International Arrival Hall of the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA Terminal 1, involving a government leader. The minister said he had not received any further reports on the incident.
Saya belum mendapat apa-apa laporan lanjut berkenaan insiden tersebut. Saya rasa pihak berkuasa lapangan terbang akan membuat siasatan lebih terperinci apa yang berlaku. Sudah tentu protokol keselamatan perlu dipatuhi, tapi apapun kita berserahkan kepada pihak berkuasa penerbangan sebab saya rasa mereka akan buat siasatan yang lebih terperinci.
Well, Lok said this when met near the nation's capital today. A portal had reported that a commotion occurred at KLIA Terminal 1 when a minister broke into the International Arrival Hall to, quote, rescue, unquote, a Chinese national who was detained by immigration officers upon entering Malaysia. And according to the portal, the minister is alleged to have used his authority to enter the arrival hall upon learning about the detention. Well, Malaysia will be on the offensive and does not rule out the possibility of suing the Sulu Group due to the losses suffered as a result of their legal pursuit. Now, Minister and Prime Minister's Department for Law and Institutional Reform, Dato Sri Azalina Othman Said, noted the government is considering suing the group as the costs incurred by Malaysia were very high. While speaking to the media at the Asian International Arbitration Center, AIAC, today, Dato Sri Azalina described the group's demand for $14.9 billion, which is 62.59 billion ringgit, from Malaysia through the arbitration process as, quote, a new form of war, unquote.
Kena matikan segala gerakan yang dilakukan oleh mereka daripada aspek funding, daripada aspek claimant. Jadi dalam claimant ni pun kita akan membuatkan satu legal opinion dari segi kajian sama ada kerajaan bersetuju apa tindakan perlu kita buat kepada mereka, sama ada perlu kita saman untuk kerugian yang kita hadapi dan sebagainya.
In February, Dato Sri Azalina said the government had spent 31 million ringgit on legal costs against the claims of 8 purported heirs of the defunct Sulu Sultanate seeking compensation for land in Sabah. Well, these included costs of international legal services, court proceedings, translations, and historical and legal research. According to Dato Sri Azalina, the government may take legal action in the United States and the United Kingdom if it is proven that it is a fraudulent claim. Coming up next, Malaysia's 4.5 million tourist arrivals in Q1 remains encouraging. Well, Malaysia's 4.5 million tourist arrivals in the first quarter of the year remains encouraging, according to Malaysian Inbound Tourist Association or MITA President Uzaidi Udanis, with most of them coming from ASEAN countries. Well, they include tourists from Singapore, Indonesia and Thailand. Elaborating further on the matter, Uzaidi Udanis noted the achievement indicated a positive development in the country's tourism industry, which would assist in reaching its overall tourist arrivals target this year.
Tahun ini kita akan mensasarkan keterbitan lebih kurang 16.1 juta pelancong antarabangsa, di mana Malaysia akan menerima 49 bilion ringgit dalam bentuk pendapatan dari pelancong-pelancong ini. Masa ini dengan mempromosikan negara kita secara agresif di pasaran-pasaran antarabangsa sebagai destinasi nilai pulangan yang terbaik di dunia.
In attracting more tourist arrivals, Uzaidi Udanis said MITA would be engaging in a roadshow to encourage travel agents promote Malaysia as a preferred tourist destination. Permodalan Nasional Berhad or PNB's wholly owned unit trust management company, Amanah Saham Nasional Berhad, has declared a total income distribution payout of 368.15 million ringgit for its fixed price fund, Amanah Saham Bumiputra 3 Didek or ASB 3 Didek, for the financial year ending 30th June 2023. In a statement today, PNB said the income distribution is equivalent to 5 cents per unit for 312,476 unit holders who currently own 7.36 billion units. It said the income distribution of ASB 3 Didek translates to total returns of 5%, outperforming its benchmark Maybank 12-month fixed deposit of 2.76% by 224 basis points. PNB said that as of 26 June 2023, ASB 3 Didek recorded a net realized income of 346.41 million ringgit. ASB 3 Didek derived its income from realized gains, dividends, as well as other income from domestic and international investments. Domestic and international equities are the largest contributors to income at 41.46% and 29.75% of the overall portfolio, respectively. Well, PNB added that transactions for ASB 3 Didek at ASNB branches and agents, including all online channels and internet banking, have been temporarily suspended from 27 to 30th June 2023 to facilitate the computation of the income distribution. Well, the young Tuan Agong Al Sultan Abdullah Ri'ajuddin Al Mustafa Billah Shah has expressed hope that Malaysia and Saudi Arabia will further enhance and strengthen their bilateral relations and unity of the Ummah. His Majesty expressed this hope at the high tea ceremony hosted by Saudi Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed bin Salman in Mina yesterday. Also in attendance was the region of Pahang, Tengku Hassan Al Ibrahim Alam Shah. And according to a post on the Istana Negara Facebook page today, in the hour-long ceremony, His Majesty exchanged views with Crown Prince Mohammed on various matters, including the bilateral relations that have been closely and specially established between Malaysia and Saudi Arabia. It said that Al Sultan Abdullah also congratulated Crown Prince Mohammed on the kingdom's thorough preparation and success in hosting 2 million pilgrims for this year's Hajj season, the largest turnout since the COVID-19 pandemic. The meeting is also a manifestation of the close relations between the two countries. Well, hundreds arrested as fresh protests over teens killing rock France. That and more coming up in our foreign segment. Stay tuned. Well, Japan's Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi said today that the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, Director General Rafael Grossi will visit Japan during the 4th to the 7th July to see the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. Well, Japan plans to release the water from Tokyo Electric Power Company's Fukushima plant, which was destroyed during the 2011 nuclear disaster, into the sea this summer, raising concerns domestically as well as from neighboring countries such as South Korea, China and Taiwan. Now, the water was mainly used to cool reactors in the aftermath of the disaster, and it is enough to fill about 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools and is being stored in huge tanks at the plant. The issue was also raised at a meeting between Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol in May, where Kishida agreed to grant access for South Korean experts to inspect the planned release. Well, recently, Japanese Finance Minister Shunichi Suzuki met with his South Korean counterpart Cho Kyung-ho. Now, the two were involved in a bilateral meeting about 2 months after the countries restarted financial talks in efforts to further mend formerly strained ties. Well, some UNESCO member states are concerned about approving U.S. return to the UN Cultural Agency after it pulled out abruptly in October 2017, as a conference is going on from Thursday to Friday in Paris to decide whether to welcome the U.S. again. Now, the U.S. withdrew from the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, twice, back in 1984 and 2017, respectively. Well, since 2011, the United States has owed the UNESCO approximately $612 million in fees, while also owing the World Heritage Fund approximately $7.91 million. So overall, the debt amounts to $619 million. The repetitive withdrawals have caused concerns among many countries who want the U.S. to make sure similar things won't happen again.
This is not the first time. Yes, there is a systematic attempt by the American administration, especially the Trump, at the Trump time, when they were first, they are withdrawn from the Human Rights Council, they withdraw from UNESCO, and that's also something is worrying for us. And we want assurances that once we start all this process, asking the US to come back, not to take that step and to withdraw from UNESCO once again. That will affect the noble cause of UNESCO, and that's unacceptable.
UNESCO, founded in 1946, is dedicated to promoting cooperation among countries through education, science and culture. Well, France was reeling from a third straight night of protests over the death of a teenager at the hands of police, with cars torched, buildings vandalized and hundreds arrested in cities across the country. Now, the overnight unrest followed a march on Thursday in memory of the 17-year-old named Nahel, whose death has revived long-standing grievances about policing and racial profiling in France's low-income and multi-ethnic suburbs. Around 40,000 police and gendarmes, along with elite raid and GIGN units, were deployed in several cities overnight, with curfews issued in municipalities around Paris and bans on public gatherings instated in Lille and Toulon in the country's north. Now, despite the massive security deployment, violence and damage were reported in multiple areas. France has been rocked by successive nights of protests since Nahel was shot point-blank on Tuesday during a traffic stop captured on video. Nahel was killed as he pulled away from police who were trying to stop him for a traffic infraction. The government is desperate to avoid a repeat of 2005 urban riots sparked by the death of 2 boys of African origin in a police chase during which 6,000 people were arrested. Concern about the police using their weapons to stop drivers who refuse to stop for traffic checks has been growing. Last year, 13 people were killed after refusing to stop for police traffic checks, with a law change in 2017 that gave officers greater powers to use their weapons now under scrutiny. Ukraine will receive $1.5 billion from the World Bank to support reconstruction and recovery. Prime Minister Denis Shimel said the funds will be provided with guarantees from the Japanese government and channeled to support social security and economic development. Elaborating further, the Ukrainian premier said the loan in particular will help support subsidies for internally displaced people and pension payments. Ukraine relies on financial aid from its foreign partners to be able to cover its budget deficit. And yesterday, the International Monetary Funds Board completed its Ukrainian loan review, allowing Kyiv to immediately withdraw $890 million for budget support. The government hopes for a modest economic recovery this year after the economy shrank by about one-third in 2022 because of Russia's war on Ukraine, and is working with foreign partners to secure financing for so-called fast recovery. Ukraine is rebuilding schools, hospitals, roads and bridges and implementing repairs in the energy sector despite continued fighting in the south and east of the country. Well, after months of record-breaking weather, scientists fear the world is nearing a point of no return beyond which an increase in global temperatures cannot be kept within 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, with temperatures in parts of North America some 10 Celsius above the seasonal average in June, while smoke from forest fires blanketed large parts of Canada and the U.S. coast in hazardous haze. Well, the total carbon emissions from the fires were estimated at a record 160 million metric tons. Now, the World Meteorological Organization said in May that countries agreed in Paris to, or rather in 2015, to keep global warming within 1.5 Celsius. But there is now a 66% likelihood that an annual average temperatures will cross the 1.5 Celsius threshold for at least 1 year during the 2023 to 2027 period. Negotiators gathered in Bonn in June to discuss the COP28 climate talks due to take place in Dubai at the end of the year, but little progress was made on key issues like fossil fuels and financing. A summit on climate finance and restructuring debt for climate-vulnerable countries was also held earlier this month in Paris, with dozens of leaders from the Global South in attendance, though many G7 leaders skipped. Coming up in sports, Taipei Open title, a breakthrough for greater success. Well, national men's doubles player Man Wei-Chong is optimistic that the recent Taipei Open 2023 title win alongside partner T. Kai-Wun would serve as a breakthrough to achieve bigger things in upper-level tournaments in the near future. Now, as they had never won Super 500 and above tournaments before, Wei-Chong said it was important for them to keep their momentum going in a bid to shine in higher-grade tournaments, starting with Korea Open 2023 or Super 500 from 18th to the 23rd of July. Now, in the Taipei Open final last Sunday, world number 23 duo Wei-Chong and Kai-Wun came from behind to upset home pair Lu Qingyao and Yang Po-Han, ranked 13th best, 20-22, 21-17, 21-14 to defend their title in the Super 300 final. The Malaysians came close to clinching their maiden Super 500 title before succumbing to Kang Min-hyuk and Seo Seung-jae of South Korea, 15-21, 24-22, 19-21. Now, in the Malaysia Masters 2023 final last month, now that they have a chance to avenge their loss to Min-hyuk and Seung-jae in the opening round of Korea Open 2023, Wei-Chong said they just need to ensure that they will be performing at their level best. The national football team, or Harimau Malaya, climbed up one spot to number 137 in the latest FIFA World Rankings. Now, this is the best position Malaysia has achieved over the past 17 years since occupying the 127th spot back in May 2006. Now, based on FIFA's website, the national team garnered 9.44 points from the two Tier 1 international friendlies in Terengganu this month, thus enabling the Kempangan-led Harimau Malaya to accumulate a total of 1,091.57 points. In the two friendlies held at the Sultan Mizan Zainal Abidin Stadium in Kuala Nurus, Pangan's men defeated the Solomon Islands 4-1 and trounced Papua New Guinea 10-0. The updated ranking list also sees Malaysia occupying the 24th spot in Asia and 4th position in Southeast Asia behind Vietnam, Thailand and the Philippines. Neighbours Indonesia dropped one spot to number 150, while Singapore remained in 158th position. The Football Association of Malaysia, the FAM, are on a mission to ensure that Harimau Malaya are in the top 130 bracket by the end of this year. National pair Ivan Yuan and Rachel Arnold fought back from a first-set defeat to overcome their India rivals and check into the final of the Asian Squash Mixed Doubles Championship in Hangzhou, China. Ivan and Rachel staged a magnificent comeback to down Abhay Singh and Anahat Singh 10-11, 11-4, 11-6 in the quarterfinals at the Hangzhou Olympic Sports Centre. Their reward is a title showdown against another pair from India, Harinder Pal Singh and Deepika Palikal. Ivan, who credited their semi-final win to the strategy drawn up by their coach, hopes they will be able to play just as well in the final. He said for the match, everything went according to their strategy and they managed to make necessary adjustments between the first and second games.
To make necessary adjustments, slight adjustments in between the first and second game, which actually help us a bit there, and managed to hang in there and pull through. And very happy for the win today, and hopefully tomorrow will be much better.
Ivan also expressed happiness with the win and noted that hopefully they can give a much better performance in the final. Harinder Pal and Deepika Palikal meanwhile advanced to the final after downing the Malaysian pair of Muhammad Shafiq Kamal and Aifa Azman 11-9, 11-6. Well, Croatian prosecutors again charged the national team captain Luka Modric and former international Dejan Lovren for giving false testimony in a major football-related corruption trial. Now, both players appeared in 2017 as witnesses during the multi-million euro corruption trial of former Dinamo Zagreb boss Zdravko Mamic, providing details of their transfers from the current Croatia champions. Now, at the time, Modric testified over the details of his 2008 transfer from Dinamo to Premier League club Tottenham Hotspur. Now, he went on to join Real Madrid in 2012. Lovren, meanwhile, provided details about his 2010 transfer from Dinamo to French side Lyon, where he is currently playing. And both players were charged with perjury in 2018, but the charges were later dropped due to lack of evidence that year for Modric and in early 2019 for Lovren. Modric is charged with providing false testimony on 13 June 2017 before the Osijek County Court. A prosecutor's statement said, citing the date when the star midfielder testified during the Mamic trial. Now, Mamic and the three others were found guilty of charges of abuse of power and corruption that cost Dinamo more than 15 million euros and the state 1.5 million euros. Mamic, considered the kingpin of the Balkan countries' football and currently hiding in neighbouring Bosnia, was sentenced to 6.5 years in jail. And that wraps up Malaysia Tonight. A reminder of our top story. Well, banks encouraged to continue helping individuals and SMEs. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. Malaysia Madani. Tekat perpaduan, penuhi harapan. Have a pleasant evening.